4-H camp is a blast.
I think 4-H camp is cool.
The most awesome experience of your life.
4-H camp is awesome and really fun.
While at camp, you'll take an educational journey participating in hands-on tracks like science, engineering, and technology, water safety, outdoor skills, nutrition, and much, much more.
I think it was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had in my whole entire life.
4-H camp is life-changing.
So 4-H camp is an amazing, one-of-a-kind experience that you'll definitely want to have.
4-H camp is awesome.
Hi, welcome to Louisiana 4-H's Virtual 4-H Camp. On this week's Wetland Wednesday, we are looking at erosion. My name is Brian Gautreau and I'll be going through this activity with you. Have you ever been to the beach before and noticed how the sand seems to move around? Or have you ever been to a creek and noticed the side of it's washed away? Look at your pre-questions real quick and see if you can answer the questions about erosion and wave action. The materials that you're going to need include some sand or soil, water, some kind of container. I've used a clear plastic one right here, but it doesn't have to be clear or plastic, and some paper towels. Okay, so for this activity, first thing we're going to do is we're going to model a beach. For this, you're going to need to create a pile of sand in your container. So the first thing we need to do in our model is to create a sand dune. To do that, I'm just going to add sand to our container. And you want to kind of make it a single pile. The next step is to add water to our model. I'm going to add a couple inches of water. And I'm not going to add it too quickly because I don't want to wash my sand away. If you have a really deep container, you can add a little bit more water than a couple of inches. So my model is set up. At this point, I'm going to stop and make some observations. I'm going to note how far the sand is coming out. I'm also going to note about how high the water comes up on the sand. To perform the experiment, I need to make some waves. And there are a couple different ways to make waves. One is I can push my hand up and down. Two is I could just move the water like this. As I push up and down, how hard I push up and down is going to change the height of the waves. That's called amplitude. And the amplitude is how much energy the wave carries. You're going to want to make waves for about 30 seconds. Okay. After about 30 seconds have gone by, go ahead and make some more observations. Is your sand dune as big as it was? Has it moved any? Well, what caused it to move? It was the energy in the waves. And if you made really big waves, if your waves had a lot of amplitude, that tended to move more sand than those that didn't. And this is what happens to all beaches. The waves can move the sand and cause erosion. So if you live near a beach or a stream, and you notice erosions happening, you might be a little concerned. If it continues to wash away your soil, that might start to impact the place that you live. So we have to think about ways that we can minimize erosion. One of the best ways is to plant vegetation. Vegetation not only holds on to the sand and soil, but it also helps reduce the wave energy. So for this portion of the experiment, go ahead and reset your sand and make a new fresh pile of sand. Then we're going to cover that sand with some paper towel. The paper towel is going to represent vegetation. The next part of this experiment is going to look what happens when we add some vegetation. We're going to model our vegetation with some paper towel. So take your paper towel, unfold it, and lay it on top of the sand. This will now represent sand that has been covered by vegetation. Just like the first experiment, we're now going to go ahead and create some waves. First, make some observations. Notice how far your sand comes out, notice how high your water comes up, and go ahead and start. Okay, so 30 seconds have passed by. I've made some pretty big waves here, and I want to look at this. It doesn't look like my sand has come out quite as much this time. If I compare it to the first experiment, I'll see there is a big difference in the amount of erosion that's happened. After the experiment, go ahead and make some observations. You may notice that the sand didn't move as much this time. That's because the paper towel, which represents vegetation, not only absorbed some of the energy from the waves, but also held onto the sand. At this stage, go ahead and pause and answer the post questions. So what does this experiment show us? This experiment shows us that you can have an impact on controlling erosion. Whether it's planting vegetation to help absorb wave action and hold on to the roots, or other methods, you can make a big difference. I encourage you to become wetland professionals and make an impact in your other communities. Thank you for joining me in this 4-H virtual camp.